Hello everybody, thanks for checking out this video here on G4G on YouTube. Today's video is going to be a combination of the week in Marvel Avengers Alliance and the PvP Season 28 wrap-up. The background music today will be linked in the description, best melodic dubstep. So let's go ahead and take a look at PvP's rewards. Gone ahead and just basically held off on opening them so that I could do it for the video. I actually sped up my research for one of the Spec Ops items so that I could research the suit for you guys. So we have the 100k silver, we have the 10 gold, we have the Femme Fatales, we have the Bruiser's Infused Tech Suit, and remember people, research it, it's not going to be in your inventory. And of course we have Patsy Walker, aka Hellcat. And with the exception of Cammy, my collection is now complete. Alright Agent, I'm on the clock and ready to roll. Just point me in the direction of someone who needs their butt kicked. I gotta tell you, when I look at this artwork here on this screen, at least this, it kind of looks like Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman if Catwoman was played by a tranny who doesn't really know makeup very well. I mean, the crazy-ass eyebrows, the big, wide-open eyes, that lipstick. It's like tranny Catwoman. That's a kind of Batman that you don't see in the theaters. Okay. So, very interesting. And today's drink is brought to you by Mio Energy Tropical Fusion. So this glass over here is from Spanky's Mikado's, which was a bar and eatery where I used to go to college at JMU. Alright, so I finished at 1895. Basically was trying to counter the 2 losses that I took really deep in the season over there and get back to 1900. I took these 2 out of nowhere, got to counter one of them, and was trying to counter one more when the season ended. Actually, it's a good thing the season ended when it did, because it was going to be a loss. It was a viciously bad turn order of Null and Angrier, where Null went first, did the World Breaker, and then Angrier did his stuff, and then the Agent did Signpost. The Meteor stacks were off the charts. So this is the team that I used for the entirety of the season. This is a team that I switched to in the middle of Season 27. It is Archangel, and it is Psylocke. Now, the way that these guys go over here is that they are all stealthy. I have a nanoplague, and I have a despair. The Force of Life Blade, all of this has been in all season except the cube was not in all season. It was actually the Deb, but during the filming of the Beast and Angel video, when I changed my gear out so drastically, I had lost 1 or 2 matches in the filming of that video, so when I went to counter it, I accidentally had my agent set up that I had from the Beast and Angel video, but I had Archangel and Psylocke back in. I was like, I gotta fix that. So I fixed the suit. No, I fixed the gear, but then I forgot about the suit. And then I forgot. It was just really, really weird. So the Deb was out for that video, and it actually never came back. I stayed with the cube, and it worked. So some people have requested to see this team in action. Now, those who come on the stream, they know how this team is. They get to see it every single day. But for you guys who are YouTube only, you have not seen how the team works. So hopefully we'll get a good match and I'll show you. My losses this season just barely touched the double digits. And in reality, it was single digit losses because I lost 1 on the very first day due to a refresh. And I lost 1 or 2 due to refreshes. I legitimately only lost maybe about 7 or 8 matches the entire season, which is mind-blowing to me. So this is how they're going to do for the typical Spitfire team. Anytime Spitfire goes to my agent, it works out in my favor because he's phased. So hopefully she goes for my agent again. Good. For me, the best opening for a Spitfire team is either AoE or just focusing on my agent. Now, if I had the Deb in instead of the Cube, chances are I might have actually gained an extra turn from this. But it looks like I didn't. So, to me, Angrier is high priority. And because he's a blaster, Psylocke is going to go ham on him. Now, Psylocke is equipped with the AISO that makes her level 1 a quick action once per round, which is why you see her taking so many turns. Now, if Angrier does not open up with the Purged Succubus, it's very good. If he does, it's a problem. So, we skirted disaster here on this one. Now, what's going to happen is, always the Scroll of Runemeroth goes first. It's unstoppable unless there's a Kurth Cower. The Deb doesn't affect it or anything. I'm going to look at the agent, and I'm going to see that he does have the Deb. So anything I do now is a bit risky. It could be the Blackest Void, it could be the Smothering Shadow. I'm going to try the Blackest Void because I need Archangel to go in on Angrier rather than work Spitfire. It got popped. It happens. I mean, there's only so much you could do. If the agent was off balance for my scroll, it would be... Oh, well this is actually shit right here. This is the counter to my team. Fucking incredible. This is the exact counter to my team that I need not to happen, which is to be unstealthy and not be able to heal. So I'm probably not going to be able to get to... Well, I guess that agent doesn't protect. So Angrier's out of the way, which is a huge thing for them. Why she does Sleeping Tiger, I don't know. Occasionally, there are times where somebody else gets low and she tries to Sleeping Tiger, but still goes for my agent. So, the bleeds are, of course, a bit of an issue. And she has that radiation exposure, and I have to deal with no healing. However, Spitfire is, of course, a bad enough target that we do need to go in on her. Psylocke is going to help her bleeds out a little bit by only doing one more attack. That's a good mental coordination over there. So, what I'm going to do now is use the Warm Zephyr. It's not going to heal me, but it's at least going to get rid of those bleeds. And I'm going to try to hit the Smothering Shadow, which may or may not get interrupted. Unfortunately, I'm 0 for 2. Yeah, this is actually a very, very bad combination for my team right now. Because now, even my agent can get hit. If I go for the nanoplague, it's going to get rid of her buffs. Which is about the best that I can do right now. Spitfire did represent one of the worst threats for my team. The reason being is nanoplague normally shuts people down. But anybody who has healing, that's what counters the nanoplague, is that you push healing off the... healing pushes nanoplague off the table. Psylocke really, really tried there. So, again, gonna get rid of the bleeds. And since I am currently not phased, the best thing I can do right now is exhaust Spitfire. So if she lives through Archangel, which she shouldn't, we're gonna be in good shape. Alright, so that Life Fantastic, it may heal them, but it's not gonna give them... It's not supposed to have given them the Mirror Reality. Oh, that's right. If I had done the nanoplague, that wouldn't have given her Mirror Reality. She would have gotten the heal, but that would have been it. So she's exhausted. She's only going to take one turn. And that was actually a very bad AI mistake over there. Critically bad AI mistake. She had Psylocke. And Psylocke just got extremely lucky. So at this point, despair is off the table. We're looking good. Even if this, even if this is a drain agent, her level 9 does not drain because it's psychic. And that's why this team works out so well. Now that follow-up did, of course, create a drain because Archangel is not psychic. And that's why this team works out so well. Two of the heroes are stealthy. We have nanoplague, which removes buffs, including escutcheon and mirror reality and things like that. Heat from Red Hulk. Buffs on Spitfire and everything like that. It just keeps everybody down to being basically a base. And also, Archangel has the ability to put out despair, and I have the bleed ISO on that. So he causes despair, and he causes bleeds. So you see here, I'm getting absorbed, but I'm not actually healing him. And as we talk about the season, we will talk about what was going on with the drains over here. So PvP Season 28 was a complete season of utter douche knob bugs. And I don't blame the players. I blame Playdom. Oh, by the way, down the stretch, my defensive team became Kurth and Pesty. These guys I used in the beginning of the season. And then after discussing with J.A. Wyatt on the stream, I went over to Pesty and Mordo. They worked out for a while until the new ISOs got released, and then they got flatlined. They didn't do anything. So I said, alright, I'm going to be a dick, and I'm going to go to Kurth, and I'm going to put Despair on her 6, and Pesty, I'm going to maybe use Flanked on his level 1, and then all of a sudden my defense is stabilized. So I actually came back to my original team, but with the new ISOs, they worked out much, much better. So Season 28, Season of the Bugs, man, let me tell you, Playdom just fucked this season up so bad. First of all, they released the season 1 week after Season 27. You can tell by the rankings that not a lot of people played this season as compared to the previous one. So let's take a look at this. We can see it here in tournament history. So, alright, Season 28, I finished with a rating of 1895, and I was ranked, well, actually it's stabilized. In the beginning of the season, that's scary. This is scary that this is up already. Oh, God, Playdom, what the fuck are you doing? So, the stats smoothed out, but like in the beginning, my rank was super high for my rating, which made it seem like not a lot of people were playing. As it turns out, I think people started to. They just didn't start right at the beginning. They were probably so worn out from 27 that it took them a while to get into Season 28, which is incredible because it was a lockbox season. Getting into the season late just hurts your lockboxes. Playdom should not do this 1 week apart. They really shouldn't. So, at the end of Season 27, I was predicting that on Friday, we would get Chapter 10. On Saturday, people would discover a bugged item that would ruin PvP. And on Monday, the season would get extended. Well, that didn't happen. Chapter 10 came after PvP ended. But we almost had that happen for this season. So we can officially talk about the bugs now in an open forum, and I won't be perpetuating them by revealing them. So here are the bugs. The first and worst bug that occurred at the end of the season was Electro and the Thunder Strike. Let's talk about that one, because this was the bad one. This was the one that could have been a major, major problem. Basically, what was happening was Electro could buff the team with his level 2. And essentially, By doing the level 2, he makes everybody his friend, because he spreads electricity to everybody else on the team. Well, somehow, people discovered that by using the Thunder Strike with the level 2, the game would freeze up, but not all the way. Animations would still be happening, like Angel still sitting here like this, and Psylocke's like this. But you had no control over the game. You could get to the different tabs like purchase, allies, but the game was out of your control at this point. So obviously that's a forced refresh. Running that on defense means you win. If you run that on offense, you're not very bright. Well, the problem is that it was hard to tell if the person was doing it as a douche or legitimately. A, because Thunder Strike simply works with an Electro team. It makes sense to use this item with him. It really does. The other thing is, it dropped in his lockboxes. Playnum literally spoon-fed you the very item that was the bug. They're like, here, this milk is 2 months sour. We're going to give you this sour milk in every single opportunity we can, so drink it. And I think Playnum was dangerously close to, looking at an extended season. The bugs surfaced on Friday or Saturday, a week before PvP ended. I think they got to it relatively quick. I think they got to it by Monday, maybe. I never lost to it, but there was definitely reports of it happening. The next bug, it's a 2-part bug. Drains the entire season. Drains were bugged as shit. Signpost, the FOLB, the Force of Light blade. Any of the drain functions the entire season were bugged because Flash literally was taking a shit if you were doing a drain item. Anytime a drain was about ready to go off, or at the beginning of combat, if the enemy had a signpost, your game was like this for, 30 seconds to a minute, depending upon how weak your computer was. Then, when you went to use the item that caused the drain again, you had that pause. Sometimes the pause was so bad, you would even get the Flash is not responding message. Do you want to continue or stop it? That's just poor coding right there. That is something that Playdom in any internal playtesting should see this consistently. They should be able to see that on their own computers, running it in their own test lab. I mean, to me that seems pretty fucking obvious. Thunderstrike and Electro, maybe not. I mean, it's a logical item to go with him, but they may not have hit upon that combination. Draining, I mean, it's the fucking signpost. It is one of the most common PvP items since it was invented. It broke a season or two ago where it didn't work, and then it was fixed, and now it's pure shit. Pure laggy shit. I mean, it's incredible that this gets through quality control over there. So, okay, there's that. Now we come to the big one. The one that everybody knows and splits the community in half like Donald fucking Trump. This thing over here with Grit and Scudum, or Scutcheon, the Elite ISO. How does Grit affect that? How does stacks of Grit cause additional drains? To me, the code seems like it doesn't make sense at all. What? I mean, heat and draining on Red Hulk, to me, maybe that makes sense. I can maybe see how that happens. But how does Grit go with the Elite ISO? I just don't get it. It doesn't make sense to me. I think I want to try Blade with her. I have no understanding as to why that would happen. But it did. So now is the political discussion, the moral discussion. Is using it bad or good? Was it a bug or a feature or what? Truth be told, it has divided a lot of communities, and that's why I drew the similarity to Donald Trump. People are okay with using it. People were not. People were upset if you used it. People weren't. Planom itself has not helped the situation because as multiple people reported the bugs in the beginning, Planom was originally saying this is not a bug, this is not an exploit, it's not a cheat. So Planom was not doing a very good job of saying, sorry, we're going to work on this. Then the last few times some people were talking about writing in, the response was, yes, we do know this is not working the way it should. Our devs are taking a look into it. So finally, we began to hear something from Playdom as to whether or not they agreed with what was happening with this thing. The official word, we still really don't know. Nice, she joined in. So we don't really know what Playdom feels about it. So this now became a moral choice as to whether or not you use the combination. Frankly, the combination isn't super bad because there is a counter to it and there's despair. This is why I've said all season that my offense was a nice little oasis and the meta has grown up around it. Angel and Psylocke were in place to counter everything that happened this season because they were already equipped to deal with it before it ever happened. It was almost like, divine provocation that it showed up that they could do this. So, can you fault somebody for using it? Maybe you can. But if nobody's defined it as an exploit or a cheat, it's subject for debate. And that's why it divides the community. So between how laggy drains were, multiple draining things like the FOLB and the signpost, and then the golden glove and the old glove, this was a really stupid fucking buggy season, and I truly hope Playdom gives about a month off and gets on their asses and fixes all this shit before we get the next season. Their track record is not good right now. Marvel Avengers Alliance 2 has the Ant-Man Spec Ops and another PvP character that are in the works before a worldwide release. So you're going to have Angela, Heimdall, Miles Morales, and a Spec Ops all out of the way before the game goes live. That's incredible. That is stupid. I really thought they were going to do it after the Heimdall season. So let's take a look at Hellcat over here. Passive, get ready, gains grit when attacked by single target attacks, chance to gain an extra turn when attacked, chance to preemptively counter attacks, grant all party members damage reduction by 50%, so she has survival training. Krav Maga, diminished resolve, reduces damage dealt by all attacks, counts as a delirium effect, so we need to run that into Kurth and see if that actually affects her. Increases damage taken by 15%. That's pain. Cleaving claws, open wound, and opportunist. That's nice. Hemorrhaging attack that removes buffs and it causes agony. Suppresses most effects that... So that's like Pesty right here. She has a built-in single target Pesty. Very interesting. And Capoeira, which exploits bleeds and opportunity and grit. So she is not a complicated character. She still looks like, if you blot out her hair and just do this on your screen. Take 2 fingers and cover her hair so you just see her face. It's Catwoman. I'm not kidding. It kind of looks like a combination of the original Batgirl and Catwoman. It's crazy. And let's see, her good team-ups are going to be Black Cat, Black Panther, Colleen Wing is going to be really big. Elsa's really big. Pesty, 0 to hero. That's interesting. Howard the Duck. Jessica Jones. Really big on Misty Knight. So if you need... No, never mind. I'm combining Misty and Moon. So she has some 4-level team-ups. She's a member of the... Tigra's the biggest. So Tigra's a 5.1. Level your Tigra, people. And actually, Tigra fits with Hellcat, honestly. So yeah, she's got a lot of 4 bonus ones, and she's got a 5 in Tigra, so do that. Speaking of, on the off-season, I'm going to finish my blasters and my generalist. That is my goal over here. So now let's take a look at the suit. Let us go to the villain archive. We will try to fight Kurth and see if she's immune to that delirium one. Hey, look, it's Electro. That's neat. As soon as it loads everybody in over here. She should be showing up fairly soon. There she is. Alright. So we're going to fight Kurth. And we're going to wear the new suit. We're going to see if she's immune to that delirium effect. And there's another thing, like... Playdom needs to do. That old flight suit. So there it is, the Bruiser's tech suit. Melee attacks gain the ice type and now apply frostbite. All attacks except fire attacks gain the ice type. Gains cold reception every round. Cannot gain cold reception if the affected target is ongoing fire. Immune to harmful water. Alright, so I think I'm going to try to run this with the Freezer. How's that for some fun? Freezer ices you up and makes defense, so that'll be interesting. While I'm doing that, switching gears to the week in Marvel Avengers Alliance, mostly it was about PvP and the bugs. I mean, that was the worst thing about this week, is the bugs and the performance of the game. I mean, it was... I know they've moved some of the resources off to MAA 2, but they really need to make sure the quality of this game stays in place. You don't want people jumping ship at this point, because technically Marvel Avengers Alliance can go to infinity. The amount of storylines and heroes and arcs you could do, especially with them creating their own universe here, it's virtually limitless. Alright, so we're going to pass Spitfire's turn, just because I don't want to kill her. So, that delirium effect is right here, diminished resolve. Let's see what happens. So let's look at Kurth. Let's see her buffs now. She is immune to psychic and delirium effects, so the good thing is it still hits her. She just doesn't get the effect applied to her. So that answers that question. That's a big question to answer. But it certainly would work out very, very well with Morbius and the Lunacy. She's countering like crazy. And I mean, the pain stacks from a level 15 Hellcat would be pretty nice. She has countered everything. It's honestly like she's using the Revengeance ISO. She's countered everything put her way. 50% my ass, she's been 100%. So let's see if melee, slashing, energy, and ice. Very neat. Gains cold reception every round. Where is the cold reception? Might be... reduces damage from attacks. One stack is removed when hit by fire or energy. Very interesting for Electro. Means Electro might be very good. This is ridiculous. She's countered every single thing thrown her way. So, I think that wraps up about Hellcat for today. We got to see the suit. We got to see Hellcat. So, let's just go ahead and talk about these bugs as I go through the simulator one more time here. The bugs this season... I mean, it really did divide the community as to whether or not using the multi-drain setup was a good idea. Honestly, with how defenses are and how the AI is and everything like that, I think it's not a bad thing to use something in your favor. Refresh bugs and everything like that, that's something different. You are legitimately an asshole if you do that. But the drain bugs and everything, honestly, that's Playdom's fault. That is Playdom's fault for doing something that has existed ever since the double drain on Kurth. If you're not familiar with the double drain on Kurth, what it is that the elite ISO, when combined with the inability to be stunned, it causes a double drain. So if you were to run like the Menacing Pulse or something, and the elite ISO, your agent would actually double drain. Really? Really? 13 experience points away. If you ran, you know, that elite ISO and Kurth, she would double drain. And nobody really knew why until people investigated us, not played on the community. And it turned out it was if you cannot be stunned and ran the elite ISO, you got the double drain. Now we're up at like the octuple double bubble boiling trouble drain over here with Grit. I'm not really going to pass judgment on people who used it, mostly because I was able to avoid it. The meta has been anti-melee for a long time now, ever since the Hugins Eye to begin with. So, bringing ranged, at least some range to the battle, was the way to go. Granted, that is subject to being popped by the Deb. So, I mean, it's gotten to the point where PvP is a very sketchy area. So, to give yourself a boost on defense, I really can't fault you for it. The Despair, though, came in and saved the day. You've got the Ionic Devourer. You've got Archangel. You've got Elsa. There's people who have Despair. You just needed to use it to counter it. And if you didn't adjust 3 days into seeing everybody and their brother running those suits in that drain, it's not just about the E3 suit. You could do it with the E2 suit also. You could do it with any other tank that runs 2 ISOs. You needed to run Despair. The meta constantly shifts. If you don't adapt, you're hurting yourself. So what are we going to see going forward? Well, we might see the return of so many characters to the meta because of these new ISOs. Let's talk about them briefly. Black Widow could come back by equipping one of the debuff ones on Widowmaker. Captain America, maybe at the lower levels, may come back as a tank. Colossus will actually start to fall out of favor because he can only equip the one ISO. However, there is now an ISO that you could slot here that means you don't have to farm for his ISO. Where are you? It is the one that's... oh, it's not listed here. But there is that ISO that says equipped... Oh, wait, that's the wrong one. That would be Y. There we go. That's the protect one. You have the mending ISO that says equip protect action grants healing when attacked. Now that works on non-bruisers also, which is nice. But then you have the other one that says equip protect action applies covered. That means anybody can be Colossus now, and it also means you don't have to farm for Colossus's ISO. Daredevil could make a comeback if you're running Despair, because once you cause internal bleeding, that's it. You can't get rid of internal bleeding, and you can't heal. Null, who we finally got rid of, is going to make a huge comeback. This is now risk-reward versus the Deb. If you're not running the Deb, and he gets a you're not worthy off, and he has the spare on that, or the pesty one, trouble. It happened to me with Angrier right at the very end. Iron Fist sadly has been nerfed into the ground. Kurth has 2 slots where she can use the ISOs, and there it is. There's the spare. The other thing that could happen is you could put something on Love Me, which puts it on a major cooldown, which means she may more likely spam her 1 and her 2. If you run the Scrapper version, and you're following up your 2s with a Brawl, that's a lot of damage going out. So, Kurth can become even more obnoxious. She is like Deadpool. The way everybody said Deadpool was Justin Woods' little baby and he could do no wrong and was incredible in PvP, Kurth is the new Deadpool. She might make a good impact because of her chance to turn everybody psychic. If everybody becomes psychic, they bypass everything and they don't cause drains. So Blaster P5 Phoenix might be in a really, really good spot. Multiple turn Scrin with flanked on her moves. That's a lot of damage on the 1 turn. Over here, buff, debuff, buff magic. You could put a Despair or a Pesty on this one. That's a possibility. I mean, there's a lot of things that might show up. If there was a Psychic debuff out there, that's going to be really bad. Let's look at Cable's range Psychic. No, fortunately his stuff is Psychic. By the way, he would bypass all the drains and everything by being Psychic. Yeah, anybody who's got debuffs is going to be in a really nice spot now. Anybody who has just straight up melee with the ability to cause flanked is also going to be in a really, really good spot. I mean, you could put flanked on Pim over here and he'd become a nightmare. He's got fumbling and flanked. Red Hulk might make some good use of some of the new ISOs. You know, that one that allows him to drain and then drain again. Some people have reported some pretty good results with Red Hulk. Rescue could come back with because this is her tanking move over here. There's a few things that she would be able to do with that. She almost always uses it in the first turn. So, I mean, we may see some crazy things. Angrier is bugged right now that using one of his succubuses is not locking out the others. So he's double summoning almost guaranteed every single time on defense. Thane with his black hand over here, he has the ability, not only does he do nanoplague and despair with this move, he can now do the pesty ISO, and that could really bring Thane forward, especially with the new ISOs and everything. Thane might be in a really good spot. This is stealthy. So, I mean, you know, he could stand in for my Archangel and use that. So it's going to be very, very interesting going forward. Volstagg could make a comeback with some of the ISOs. Although, honestly, his personal ISOs are very good. Gamora. That's another one who can make a comeback. Since Magic Warding got nerfed, Doom could become a big thing again. And her demoralizing shout does do Despair. So you can apply the Pesty ISO to this. If the Deb doesn't pop it, Gamora can be used with something. Avalanche, Electro, they all have debuff moves. The flanked ISO could make Molly relevant again. And her taunt action over here could apply covered. Or that heal. I would love to use Molly again. I never wanted to stop using her. It's just the meta changed and I couldn't. I saw Victor and Destroyer teams this season. That was very interesting. I mean, there's definitely a lot of things that could be good. Elsa could come back a little bit with the nerf to Magic Warding, although unless she's stealthy, her gun attacks are going to be an issue. You have to give her the magic equals stealthy in everything she does. Otherwise, you're going to have an issue. He has no debuffs. Oh, debuff tech, yeah. That's debuff and tech. You could do the Pesty, you can do the Despair with the Mines. The only thing is, the Mines are countered like crazy by the Debs, so... just an absolutely crazy season. And Season 29 is going to be really big at the start. There's going to be a lot of flux. The good thing is, this does introduce some great variance to the meta. There's going to be so many crazy teams that at least we're not seeing the same team time and time again. Although, we probably will see some very high-powered teams everywhere. Angrier Null is going to be difficult. Not so much Angrier and Kurth, but Angrier Null could create some very vicious meteor stacks very early in combat. That's one to look out for. Electro definitely may be somewhere in there. It all remains to be seen for him, but I mean, there are certain predictions I can definitely make now for Season 29, but they need to take a month and they need to make sure their game is where it should be. Because if there are any bugs whatsoever at the beginning of Season 29, the community is going to be really upset because they need to fix so many things before we get the next PvP. So, you know, I do apologize. It is a long video, but this is essentially 2 videos in one. And we honestly do have a lot to talk about in this video. And I think we've touched upon just about everything. People are still farming Chapter 10 for all the gear. I get ISOs. I don't have any of the gear yet. Ionic Devour has proven to be one of the most valuable items. Not really seeing any of the ISOs having made a difference other than the Blade one. The Blade one did create a very good team with Spitfire. Ran into it once on defense, but it didn't do what it was supposed to do, thank God. But, as for the Spec Ops, people are definitely interested in seeing some of the Spec Ops gear. Despair kind of hurts it, but that Cybernetic Fist hits like an absolute truck. It requires no real setup and does huge damage, at least 5 digits worth of damage most times, so. And of course the new ISOs and new suits are going to be a big thing. Will we see the new Bruiser suit? I don't know. I think the triple Bruiser suits are definitely going to eclipse this new one. But, you know, if you do the work for PvP and you're not spending gold, you may certainly like the suit. So that's about it, guys. Again, I apologize that it was a long video, but we definitely had a lot of stuff that I was holding back until the season was over so that I could actually talk about it. I didn't want to do it during the season because I didn't want to perpetuate the bugs. But it's good to finally be able to be open about it and talk about it and kind of discuss it. So let me know down in the comments how you think about that whole grit and elite bug. And actually, I will say this. If they do fix the interaction between grit and elite, the triple bruiser suits may fall off, but there's still lots of good combinations you can do. Unstunnable, big and fast, and elite is a wonderful combination, especially if you're running the deb, which I still don't recommend, but anyway. So that's it, guys. I'm going to wrap it up, render the video, and upload it now. So again, I apologize it was a long video, but take care, everybody, and I will see you soon.